Welcome to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe, Kyle, and Ray. Be warned, the discussions in this podcast will contain detailed spoilers. Enter at your own risk and enjoy the show. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
Doing quite well. How are you fellas?
Fantastic.
Doing good. I actually just got back from Florida. I was at a wedding. My cousin Melissa got married to Casey, who is actually a really, really nice guy, and he happens to listen to the show.
Oh, thank you, Casey.
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, he paid you guys a real nice compliment, and he said, I loved the show before, but I really like the dynamic between the three of you guys now. So, so shout out to him. And he's interesting because when you're gonna meet it's like, oh, because his new boyfriend's coming to the reunion, you're like, oh, okay, I got to make small talk with this guy. I don't know. we clicked so fast. I mean, me and him were like fast friends. So really cool guy. So yeah, I was glad to get down there this weekend.
Once you've got another movie guy in the family, that the conversation is just gonna keep flowing.
Exactly. Yeah, there's always something to talk about.
Oh well, la-di-da, la-di-da, la-la, yeah.
So we lost Diane Keaton recently, and that was a bit of a surprise for me because I thought she was doing just fine, and some of her leading men are still doing fine, So I was that surprised me a bit.
She was older, but I never thought of her as being old. She's just one of those Hollywood icons that you thought was going to be around forever, and when you look at her filmography, you're like, how could this person not be immortal?
I mean, just taking a quick peek on IMDb, dozens and dozens and dozens of films, and there's definitely some bangers on here. What would you throw out there as your favorite Keaton film?
Well, I have to divide it between the Godfather trilogy and everything else because those movies are so seminal and such a huge part of just American pop culture and cinema writ large. They kind of stand on their own. But then she did some of my favorite romantic comedies of all time. Something's Gotta Give. I really like that movie. But my favorite movie that she ever did, at least in the comedy genre by far, is Annie Hall.
Yeah. Ooh. That's honestly, that's very much how I know Diane Keaton is from all of those early Woody Allen movies. Annie Hall being the runaway that gave her the Oscar, I believe, for that year for Best Actress. But she was doing stuff with him well before that, like all his early funny stuff she's in. There's a couple in there. I mean, she does Love and Death, which is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Sleepers, obviously. She did an early one, Play It Again, Sam, which is it's one of his really early ones where he's kind of just playing himself. He's this really weird, awkward guy, but he's also just sort of a cinephile. Like he's really into movies, and he's really into Bogart movies. So you see him like on these awkward dates where he's trying to play like, he's this little nebbish Woody Allen until all of a sudden like a girl walks in and he tries to play it cool and he's doing his Bogart and everyone else is looking at him like, dude, stop doing that. You look like you know what I mean? Like
you're Woody Allen. You're not Humphrey Bogart.
Right. He's just so awkward. But I mean, there are some scenes in there that really crack me up like so bad. So yeah, I mean, that's really how I know her best. And after Annie Hall, she did Manhattan, which is, and she, I tell you, that was the one where she really impressed the hell out of me because it was like the follow up to Annie Hall. They do Manhattan, and it's the two of them again playing a romantic, couple with romantic interests, but she plays it so different, that you kind of almost forget that they're doing the same thing again. Like it's like she's a wildly different character in that.
Mhm.
So she really plays it like she's so convincing. So that's kind of like again, she's just terrific in some of these.
And that's quite the 1-2 punch to go from Annie Hall to Manhattan and sprinkle in a couple of Godfathers. Like the 70s were very, very good to Diane Keaton.
Big time.
And she certainly showed some range. And I don't know if you guys know this, but even though I think it's the greatest romantic comedy of all time, Annie Hall started out as a murder mystery. And then the chemistry between them was so great that they completely retooled the script and made it into a comedy with no elements of murder whatsoever, just because of the interplay between Woody Allen and Diane Keaton. So that, just testament to her comedic timing that it changed the production of an entire film because of how witty their repartee was.
Yeah, you gotta love when there's good chemistry between actors.
Yeah. No doubt.
Totally. She kind of went on to do a lot of things that kind of were a little heartbreaking for me, because I felt like after that, like in the 90s, she sort of slipped into a lot of rom-com-y sort of stuff, fun, kind of harmless, almost Hallmarky sort of stuff, like Father of the Bride, and First Wives Club and stuff that my wife and her mom will have on all the time, and kind of got no interested. But honestly, she always delivers. She's always solid in everything she does.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even if the movie itself is light and fluffy, she always brings her A game. She never phoned it in.
Agreed. Yep.
And not like never like a pinup model, but always had like a cute sex appeal to her. She's certainly not Farrah Fawcett, where you're gonna like drool every time she walks into the room, but there was always something very charming about Diane Keaton anytime she was in a film.
Yeah, I totally agree. Honestly, she's sort of the perfect match for Woody Allen too.
Yes,
I kind of like he's obviously kind of scoring upward a little bit, but not that it'll be unbelievable. You know what I mean?
Right.
True.
Very good. She'll be missed for sure.
Absolutely.
I can't believe it. I'm just so excited to be here. I'm in this dream place.
This one comes highly recommended.
Dream place.
After a car wreck on Mulholland Drive renders a woman amnesiac, she and a Hollywood hopeful search for clues and answers across Los Angeles in a twisting venture beyond dreams and reality. Written and directed by David Lynch, 2001's Mulholland Drive. Ray, tell me something interesting about this movie that you started to tell me before.
So I first let me get into this real quick. I had such a hard time finding this movie. It's not on Prime. It's not on Netflix. Didn't have it at the local library. I was searching all over. I went to multiple different flea markets, to like the big booths that sell nothing but DVDs. Can't find it anywhere. I didn't know when we were going to end up recording this, so I didn't want to like buy it on eBay and it arrives late. Amazon had it, but mostly collector's editions and stuff, $30 plus. And I'm like, I'm not going to spend that if I'm not going to like this movie. So I did a little searching and I found this one app that had it. But then I didn't know which one I was supposed to watch. There's a 1999 version with a runtime of an hour and a half, and then there's a 2001 with a runtime of 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea.
That's when you said that, I was like, what are you talking about? But I said, I said, now that you mention it, I think, that rings a bell. I thought that this was something he might have did originally as like a TV project, like a TV movie. And then because it was kind of clicking and he realized he had something pretty wild here, they kind of blew it up and expanded it, and it became a cinematic release. Am I warm?
Yeah, that is true. It started out as a television project to make another series along the lines of Twin Peaks, and for whatever reason, I don't know if the networks weren't interested in it or if it just the story evolved so much that he decided to turn it into a feature film, and a really well regarded one. I know, I don't believe it won any Academy Awards or Golden Globes, but I think it was nominated for a whole slew of them.
Yeah, I think this was kind of getting rave reviews when it came out. The critics were sort of tripping over themselves for, and it was it was funny. I was starting to get the impression when this came out that the critics were. It was almost like if this movie had come out 10 years ago, I thought to myself, I think a lot of critics would have ripped this a new one. But it was almost like they realized at this point that David Lynch was kind of an unspoken, he was kind of an unsung genius. They realized this guy's masterful. He's doing whatever he's doing. It's masterfully done. So they said, I don't know if I get this movie, but I'm gonna just sing its praises because it's wild. and I know like later on it'll probably turn out that people really responded to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I could see that happening without a doubt.
Oh, definitely. Like I said,
it's a
David
movie
Lynch is a strange cat.
Oh, without a doubt.
A racer head? Come on.
Or was. R.I.P. I've been wanting to watch this movie with you guys since he passed away earlier this year, but around Halloween is really the time to watch Mulholland Drive, because we spoke, or at least I spoke, about how I find this to be one of the great scary movies of all time, even though it isn't necessarily a horror movie. It's a movie that really just defies any sort of genre classification. But the closest thing that I can describe it as is a scary movie. I don't know how you fellas feel.
That's a great. I mean, I totally agree with you. I think that this is like a lot of the movies that we talked about. They do it. Yeah, I mean, this one, it is a weird one. It's almost like I don't know what to call it exactly. It's certainly a mind bender and a thriller, and I mean, it's a brain twister for damn sure. And I don't know if I would call it a horror movie necessarily, but it's. I mean, sometimes it's just the creepy factor. Is dialed up to 11, so it's like I don't know what else to call it though. So you're right. I mean, it is sort of a brilliant horror movie in so many ways. I mean, it's almost like you're trapped in a haunted house and you don't even know it, sort of.
Oh, I was going to say, cinematically, this reminded me a lot of 12 Monkeys, like with the weird angles and things like that. No, Bruce Willis,
really
time traveler.
Yeah, that's not ringing a bell.
Oh, dude, you have to see that. Pitt? Like tomorrow, honestly, if you haven't seen that, definitely see that.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, that's a great movie. And Ray, I could totally see why you would say that, because it does. The whole time you're basically questioning, what am I seeing here? Obviously the phrase, on what is it? On something narrator.
Unreliable narrator.
That definitely comes to mind as you're talking about this one, for sure, because again, you're not sure what you're talking about. Another interesting thing about this film, and I was thinking about this before, I should have said kind of earlier, not to skip ahead, but I feel like this is going to be a very tough movie to talk about without spoilers, because a lot of it it's hard to talk about it without sort of talking about the entire thing all the way through, if that makes sense.
Yes, because it is two parallel universes, parallel stories, and the viewer is left wondering which one is real, which one is a dream. I mean, this movie is full of dream imagery and unsettling characters and disturbing images, and you're constantly questioning what's real and what's imagined, and it doesn't really provide you with any answers. And I think that's why it's so unnerving, is because human nature craves answers. We want to know, even in a scary movie, okay, the killer was Jason, and Jason is mad because he drowned in the lake, or it's Jason's mother because he drowned in the lake, or whatever. We want those answers. This movie does not answer anything, and it's entirely interpretive. And every time you watch it, you're going to come away with something different, which makes this a very highly rewatchable film, I think, because every time you see it, you pick up on another clue, and maybe your analysis changes every time you see it.
You're making me rethink my some of my talking points, because like I said, I had such a difficult time getting this, or finding the movie to even watch it. I ended up finding some obscure LGBTQ plus divided by sign app which confused me why the movie would be on there.
Well, it shouldn't have after you watched it.
But that's the thing. The way I watched it, I don't think I watched it appropriately because it was edited the way I think it would be edited for TV. So it would cut to the commercials and stuff. So every time it would jump back into the story, I was more confused, and it didn't seem to pick up where it left off. So we'll get into more of that later. But I'm still confused by this movie, and it definitely deserves a proper.
You will always be confused by this movie. This movie is very confusing, and it doesn't answer any of your questions. And every time you watch it confused because it's very confusing.
The first night I watched it twice. I wrote this in my phone at the very end of it. You guys, you'll know. I'm not going to call him out, but you might know who I'm talking about. But a mutual acquaintance of ours a few years ago absolutely raved about a movie. He had the opportunity to interview and review it, and I was sold on this movie. He's in broadcasting. He does interviews. This gentleman from another country that's in our Bond community. My mother was visiting. Kids were in bed. Me, my wife Sarah, my mother sat down. Hey, I heard about this movie from this guy. He's, he interviews famous people. Let's check it out. So he gave it a 10 out of 10, said it was an absolute masterpiece. We watched it. My mother turned to me and said, well, that's 3 hours of my fucking life I'm not going to get back. And Sarah seemed to agree completely with her. That movie was The Lighthouse. Now it's an ongoing joke. Every time like she comes to visit and we sit down, I'm like, oh, I heard about this movie. Like, it wasn't that guy in the Bond community. I'm like, no, it wasn't him. So they refused to watch any of the movies. That was my initial impression with this one. Because at the end of it, I'm like, what the hell did I just watch? That made no sense. Again, I'm watching it cut up and chopped up. The scene that I'm sure we're going to talk about eventually and why it was on that app was not included in this. So I watched it a second time.
It's a good one.
Oh no, I looked it up. I don't want to tell you what ends of the internet I ended up on to find that clip, but we'll get there. But I did watch it a second time and was just as confused. And I honestly don't think it was the film. I think if I watched it in its original format, I'd appreciate it more. But the way I watched it just didn't add up. I was very confused. I understand some of what was going on. Like we said, we're going to do spoilers anyway. I don't know exactly what was a dream, what was the reality, because it kept cutting to commercial breaks and stuff like that. And it wasn't the normal Netflix one where you get to watch like a half hour of the movie, 20 minutes, and then it cuts for 5 minutes and then you're good for the rest. It was like every 10, 15 minutes, commercial break. Really sucked the way I watched it. So
when you say
that is a very 2025 way of watching some of these movies, because some of the films that we've reviewed earlier I've watched on apps like Pluto TV or Freevee or something like that, and they always put the ads in really weird places and not like a natural break in the action. Now granted, Mulholland Drive, not exactly your traditional narrative structure. It does kind of go all over the place, so I don't know where a natural break would be, but sometimes it'll cut characters off mid-sentence, and it can really be I guess disconcerting is the right word, especially if it's the first time you're watching a film. It's annoying
and distracting as hell too. Like I kept losing, like, okay, there was attempted assassination, the car accident, but then it cuts and then she's in the shower and then the blonde girl's walking up with the two old people. Like it just didn't the sequence of events just didn't add up the way I was watching it. And I'm not sure if that's the way it was just edited.
That's also this film.
Oh, okay.
That's David Lynch. I mean, this guy is defined by, I want to say by weirdness, but I mean that's a little dismissive. I mean the guy. I mean he keeps you on your toes. He keeps you guessing the entire time. I mean, I'm talking like if you go back to things like Eraserhead, Twin Peaks. I mean, all these things. The entire time you're just saying to yourself, what am I watching? Like again, there's moments where there's a term that I keep trying to bring up when we talk about these movies, when I try to talk about the realistic vibe that a movie might have. There are certain movies that feel like you're walking through a documentary, and then there are other movies that feel like you're walking through a dream world that can't possibly exist, even though they're trying to do very similar things. Lynch is like that, where he's kind of back and forth between I can't tell if I'm watching something that is meant to be completely stone cold realistic, or if we've kind of just shifted into fantasy vibe, you know. So that's him. I mean, he never lets you keep your head on straight, and every time you think you know what he's doing, he throws you a curveball. So yeah, I mean, I think I definitely wouldn't recommend watching it the way you watched it, because you know, you don't need more things to seem confusing, like it's throwing you off. You can't, you know what I mean? It's like, I'd rather just at least know that I'm watching what he wanted me to watch. So yeah, but that's, I mean, that really is him. I mean, he's just so all over the place that you can't tell, you know. And there's even moments in the film where you feel like, did we just now step in like through a doorway to something else? You know, like, are we doing something totally different now? And it's, you know, again, like he pulls the rug out from under you every time you think you know where you're at.
Yeah, it's definitely a film of two halves. There is a moment where you move from one, I guess we would call it dimension, to another, or we move from fantasy into reality, or reality into fantasy. But there is a very clear transition moment when one narrative, if you can even call it that, ends and another begins.
Yeah, I even felt like there was maybe more than one of those moments too. But yeah, clearly,
but there's definitely a key one. I mean, you know, if we get into spoilers a little bit, but the moment the blue box is unlocked,
sure,
everything, you know, whether we enter a different world or we come back into the real world is up for debate. But the people are different now. I mean, who is Betty now, and who is Diane now, and who is Camilla now? The characters change. So are we seeing who they really are? Are we seeing who they want to be? These are questions that you're constantly asking yourselves when you watch this movie. So give it another try, Ray. This is a movie that really rewards repeat viewings, because each time you watch it,
I mean,
you'll
as soon as you said that with the blue box,
interpretation.
As soon as you mentioned the blue box, and I was like, okay, yeah, I remember. Okay, that makes more sense now, because all of a sudden they just disappear. I'm like, wait, what? What just happened? And then it leads into the, not doppelgangers, but they're playing different characters now, and there's another blonde with the same name. I'm like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
A lot of layers to this. A lot of layers.
There is. I mean, honestly, I would even compare this a little bit to Inception. I mean, the whole gist of Inception is that you're in this sort of dream world, but because the dreams are so weird, you know, we have sort of dreams within dreams within dreams, like these sort of layers and stuff. And that's, I think, what this movie is sort of dabbling in. Like, just there's surface level, maybe daydreaming and fantasy, and then it really gets off the rails and into full-blown dream world sort of stuff. And then there's like another moment where I feel like it's snapping you back to reality, I think. And again, unlike other thrillers, you know, where by the end everything is revealed and it's telling you this is the, what, you know, what you've been sort of wondering about the entire time. By the time the story is done, we have all the answers. This one is the opposite, where it's like whatever you thought you were watching, now you don't know anything. You have no idea what you're watching at this point, and you walk out. Again, this is one of those, the whole ride home, you're like, so what the heck was going on? You know what I mean? Like which was any of this real? Was part of this fantasy on somebody's behalf, etc.? Whose eyes am I seeing this film through? That kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it's one of those that's really brilliant, because you just don't know. You don't know, and you're not sure. Is it just up to interpretation? However, I want to see this movie. Is there something that it's telling me that actually happened that you know, I have to sort of figure out, or etc.? So yeah, I mean, it's not it's an onion for sure. I mean, there's layers and layers to unravel with this one.
Well, there's even a key scene in the movie, and in my interpretation, it's a scene that happens during the quote unquote dream portion of the movie, where a character constantly reminds us that everything you see is an illusion. There is no band. You're hearing a band, but the band isn't really there. Everything you see and hear is an illusion, and I think that the characters are being told that, but the audience is being told that too. That this part of the story is an illusion. Get ready, because only a few minutes later we're about to enter the real world, and what you see from that point forward are basically the ravings of a mad woman. The way I watched the movie, or at least the way I watched the movie the most recent time, that was my takeaway from it. The band leader is telling us everything you see is an illusion. Then we enter the real world, and everything you see is a very dreary reality. I mean, the beginning of the movie, when Naomi Watts is playing Betty, she's so cheerful and perky and happy, and the weather is so beautiful. And then once the blue box is opened, the weather is kind of dreary, and she's really depressed, possibly alcoholic, certainly psychologically unbalanced. So it's a darker reality than the dream.
Yeah, very much so. And again, to your point, early in the film, like when she first steps off the plane and she's with the old couple, I mean, she's wearing like pearls and looking like a housewife from the 50s. You know, like from one of those shows from the 50s where like the house is always beautiful. She's always wearing her best pearls and stuff like that. I mean, that's very clear. And it's and the whole, the whole elderly couple there is,
they were
again,
creepy.
Very.
Right,
Just about everybody in this movie is creepy. That's why it unnerves me so much.
Yeah. And you're already asking, okay, why are they there? Are they a significant part of the story? Is there some reason why they are the ones who are sort of delivering her into the story? You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, again, already just asking weird questions like, what does this all mean? And yeah, to your point, like by the time you get to the end, where you feel like you've been jolted back into reality she's sitting at the diner, just like that to me is like, okay, I think that's who she really is. I think that's this real person now who again has just lost herself in these fantasies. It's almost like she's retelling a story in her mind where she feels like she got jilted by this other, maybe she was in love with this other woman, and kind of doing that bit where I met her when she was down and out, and I was the one who took care of her, and I rescued her, and I was so wonderful to her, and now she's she got rid of me and discarded me, and my life is terrible, and that kind of thing. So now she's playing this fantasy in her mind, about what it all could possibly mean, and that's kind of how I was sort of interpreting that. And I don't, again, but again, I don't know.
That's a great
That's kind of
takeaway.
what I picked up too, a little bit at least, where I kind of thought it was almost like a before and after. Like she starts off like coming to Hollywood, wants to make it be a big star and all that, and then it was just the downfall, the story of her downfall for the most part, and then with the weird, not hallucinated dream sequences or whatever in between, and then she ends up, jealous and just strung out and a nut until the final sequence.
That's why I love this movie so much, because there are so many different ways that you can look at it. I mean, we just all gave out 3 similar but not exactly the same interpretations of this film, and I bet you if we watched it next week, we would come away with 3 different, maybe similar, maybe not, interpretations of this film. This is a rich movie.
I've also heard that David Lynch doesn't like to talk about this movie in specifics, like what's the meaning behind it, that kind of thing. He's like, no, it's up to you and as the viewer to interpret it the way you want.
His answers are very vague. He's like, oh, everything is revealed in the first 5 minutes, or pay attention to the lamp, or count how many times you see the cowboy, which I found him 3 times in this movie. And he says, if you see me, if you see me 2 more times, you did good. If you see me 3 more times, you did bad. And I found him 3 times this time, but again, every time you watch it, it's different.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a choose your own adventure movie.
Kind of. I mean, honestly, this movie could have been done in such a way that there could quite literally be more than one accurate interpretation of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Like the events could line up to tell more than one story. And I feel like if he were to tell me that, I'd be like, I get it. I'm fine with that. I mean, it really does feel like I would guess that there's certain things that you have to commit to incorporate into one specific narrative, but like for example, I think that they did the part where the scary lady jumps out from behind the dumpster.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like that's telling us, like, okay, all right, this girl's got some shit that is like buried deep down, and while she's living this fantasy, she's pushing something out of her mind or whatever, and but at some point it's going to rear its ugly head, and that's kind of, to me, exactly what that was. And this was sort of like the beginning of the breakdown in the kind of bullshit story that she's telling herself.
Yes. And you notice the second time you see the scary woman who lives behind the dumpster is immediately before she commits suicide. So does that monster represent her depression? Is that her literally her inner demon?
Yeah, her guilt.
Yeah.
The thing about her that she just can't escape. Right. Again, you can bury it all you want, but it's gonna pop up again.
Yep.
So the hitman and the blue key. I did catch a glimpse that she does see the key at the end of the movie, and that's why she commits suicide, right? She's so full of guilt and everything. I did catch that right, because that's where one of the commercial breaks happen. I'm like, are you shitting me right now?
Yeah, that is, I think, generally the accepted interpretation of it is she sees the blue key and can't live with the guilt.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But the hitman is in the dream as well, or what we could call the dream in the beginning, in one of the more, I would say, dark, but it's like dark comedy. Like one of the more comedic sequences of the movie is the early appearance of the hitman. Which just keeps you questioning what kind of movie this is. I mean, is it a black comedy? Is it a mob movie? Is it the mob threatening a director? Is it a love story? Is it a story of an amnesiac? It's just crazy.
Mm-hmm. When Johnny Knoxville goes all crazy with the golf club, smashing up the car.
Did you guys ever see? I don't know if you've seen this, but one of the Lynch's movies that I really like, and it's kind of weird. I don't know if a lot of people even like it, but it was the Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me movie.
I haven't seen it.
So basically, after a couple seasons of Twin Peaks, I think at some point he decided, I'm not sure what the sequence of events is that made him do the movie, if he was always planning on doing it or whatever, but so the whole premise of the show Twin Peaks is who killed Laura Palmer. Right? So this girl had already been murdered, and they're trying to track her down, or trying to track down the murderer, etc. The movie is a prequel to that, where it's basically the life and the downfall of this girl, Laura Palmer. So this girl, who you only saw in pictures and a couple flashbacks in the show, she's in this movie, and she's obviously like very troubled, going down bad paths and things like that. And there's a scene in the movie. It's one of those where we're starting to get into really hypnotic moments. They're at a bar, and probably, they're drinking, probably took something, whatever. And it's the one girl is a little crazy, but her friend's a little more prim and proper. And at one point, like, they start hanging out with some dudes, and this one's been making out with dudes the whole night. And then all of a sudden she sees like her friend sort of kissing some guy, and you see her just kind of go crazy for no, like, you don't know why she kind of loses her shit, right? And then she kind of she like literally starts screaming, and then kind of runs over and says, this is my shirt. You're wearing my shirt. You took my shirt. I want my shirt back or something. And the girl's like, what are you talking about? So all of a sudden she loses it but can't like, Pete, you see her like doesn't know why she's losing her shit. So that's kind of something that I was flashing back to when I saw this. So there was moments in here when I forget what we were just talking about, but all of a sudden, like you see her kind of unravel and you're not quite sure what just happened or why, but something is unraveling.
Like maybe this is like a precursor, or that was a precursor to the film for this film.
Kind of. I mean, again, like Woody Allen, other directors. I mean, you can probably, after some of their films, you can see themes that they are kind of obsessed with, and they'll sort of appear in different ways in different films, So I think people kind of becoming sort of unglued is one of the things that he deals with in a lot of his movies. And again, the whole concept of like, what am I really seeing here?
Right.
He's also got a surrogate character, I think, for himself in this movie, because I think it's pretty clear that Justin Theroux is playing David Lynch, or a character very closely based on David Lynch. This like artsy director who's kind of like a maverick and sought after but not fully understood, and kind of dabbles with sort of like the seedy underbelly of Hollywood. To me that just felt like Lynch put himself in this movie and almost a caricature of himself, which I thought was really interesting. And why it's there? Is it a red herring? Is he trying to tell us something? I don't know. I mean, it's Mulholland Drive. Every time you see it, you come away with more questions than answers.
Yeah. Incidentally, your friend Robert Forster's in this movie too.
Yes, he is. He's got a very brief little appearance in the very, very beginning. It's always nice to see him.
Yeah.
Another confusing part about this movie that has nothing to do with this movie, for me, when again trying to find it, Mulholland Falls. Are you guys aware of that? When you had first mentioned, I was like, wasn't that like a noir gangster movie or something? You're like, oh no, this is something entirely different.
Or is it? I mean, it starts out as a noir gangster movie.
You're not wrong. But Mulholland Falls came out in 1996. It's a noir thriller that takes place in LA in the 50s. It has an incredible cast. Might want to do a mob movie episode or something one time.
That sounds pretty good.
but there's one scene where they're on Mulholland Drive, and you see that same cliff from the beginning of Mulholland Drive, where they're like throwing a guy off the cliff in the trailer. I'm like, oh shit, I recognize that. But it's just interesting that they keep falling back to this Mulholland area in LA.
Isn't I don't know if I'm right about this, but isn't Mulholland Drive also where they sort of in North by Northwest, when they get Cary Grant's character drunk and just put him in the car, don't they send him down Mulholland Drive?
I think that's supposed to be on Long Island because he's in New York City.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. So might have to edit that out. That was a pretty bonehead observation. I'll keep it in.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
Yeah, the girl is still missing.
What's wrong?
I don't know who I am.
I wonder where you were going. Mulholland Drive.
So I've got a question for you fellas. Who's the protagonist?
I was going to ask you that.
And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. And I think that it might shift occasionally at different points throughout the film.
Absolutely does, yeah. I feel that way too.
Hmm.
Betty?
Could be. It could be Rita.
Could be Rita. Or is it Rita 1 and Rita 2, or is it Betty? No.
Is it Diane? Is it Diane in the second half and Betty in the first? I mean,
that's what I was looking for.
I don't know. Is it Justin Theroux? At one point, maybe.
It's you, the viewer.
Right. It could be.
That is a great question. Honestly, I think I would have a hard time saying that it's Rita, but I mean, Betty is clearly, again, the narrator we don't know if we can trust her or not. The trust, for damn sure. But that's a good question.
I've only seen it
something to
twice.
think about.
It is. And the way you've been describing it, like I definitely just bite the bullet and order the damn thing off eBay or something.
Yeah,
rewatch it.
It's a film that certainly warrants repeat viewings. I mean, it's one of those that if I see it pop up on a streamer, I will watch it just because, all right, it's been a year or whatever. I'm in the mood to watch this one again. I feel like being disturbed. I don't want to sleep tonight. I want to have really haunting nightmares for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't think this one would have that effect on me, even if I watch it appropriately. I don't think anything was that disturbing or messes with your brain. Closest thing, I mean, the little old couple coming under the door, like literal little old people. Yep. It reminded me of like the Evil Dead with like, I'm like, okay, that's odd. It's just trippy.
The scene without a band is weird. The very last shot of the movie, Silencio, that's weird. I mean, that one sticks with me. And then of course the woman who lives behind the dumpster is another one that's just like, ooh, I don't want to think about that.
I mean, if you're the kind of person who kind of goes to bed and kind of have a hard time closing your eyes because you're still sort of trying to deal with the day kind of thing, like this movie is like that on steroids, where you're laying there, you're just like, what the heck did that mean? What was this all about? What did that mean there? I mean, honestly, there's so many things that it purposely messes with your whole perception of reality.
And I know I mentioned that I like to watch this movie around Halloween because I consider it one of the best scary movies, but I also feel like I have to watch this movie late at night. I don't know why, but watching this in the middle of the afternoon, daylight, I don't know that I would enjoy it as much. For some reason,
totally agree.
This is a late night movie.
Easily, big time. I totally agree with that.
Joe, on something that you touched on at the very beginning when we were talking about the 1999 versus 2001, do you think this would have been better as a 5-6 episode mini series type thing, broken up into however long, half hour, 45-minute increments, so that you're getting piece by piece by piece, and then getting the final reveal? Do you think it would make more sense doing that, or in this long form?
That's a great question. I don't know. The problem is this almost feels like, the thing I keep flashing back to as you're talking about that is Lost with J.J. Abrams and everything, and everybody kind of going crazy. What a great premise. I can't wait to see what happens next. And then by the time you get to the end, you're kind of going, was that a resolution? Is that satisfying? So I don't know. I mean, I think, there's a lot of shows that do really well dangling things for a long time, but if you know very well that you're not going to answer a lot of questions, and I don't know if people really want to get strung along for that long, or you might. So I don't know how this would have worked as a series. Sure,
I think
fine.
At the time, I don't think it would have been the way to go. I think in 1999 to 2001, film was the way to go with a project like this. Now, with HBO Max, I could see it working as a series.
I mean, pushing 3 hours is a long film.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I it's funny. I always thought I was a big Sopranos fan when it was out, but I always said,
I was going to mention that.
Even at the height of Sopranos, though, I used to say the best part of the Sopranos was the coming attraction for next week. Because I felt like a lot of times, like, you can't wait to watch it because they hooked you with the coming attraction for next week. But then sometimes I didn't feel like the things were paying off during. Like sometimes they would say something in the trailer that was like, whoa, that's going to be huge. And then when it happens in the movie and it's like they say it and then nothing really happens after that. And you're like, okay, well, that didn't really lead to anything. But so, yeah, I mean, they had great coming attractions for the next week. So
I thought you were going to talk about the ending to The Sopranos, the way you were just talking about the ending.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah.
Left to interpretation.
Exactly.
Yeah. We could go down that rabbit hole one day. That's a fun conversation.
Yeah, seriously.
You're both from Jersey. I'm sure you have strong opinions on The Sopranos.
Gabagool.
For years, people would, anytime somebody would come to visit and they would ask me about The Sopranos, I'm like, that's like 10 minutes from here if you want to go take a look or whatever.
Just jump on the turnpike, man. It's right there.
All the time. So yeah, I don't know. And again, I also, now that we're talking about it, I do sort of wonder, when the time comes to rate, give a grade to the film, sometimes I do ask myself, does the fact that the movie doesn't really have it doesn't really conclude by explaining anything, does the fact that it leaves you hanging, does that add to the film or does it detract a little bit? You know what I mean? Like I almost feel like I praise this movie. I think it's a great film. I love watching it, everything. But then there's moments where I say, but maybe David Lynch didn't really have anything in mind. Maybe he was sort of doing like J.J. Abrams in Lost and just kind of playing with your brain and telling you, but I'm not going to tell you what it all means. Like, does that make it a genius move or does it make it like, maybe it's a little bit of a cheap move?
It could be just an elaborate prank. Like he wants us to do this. He wants us to like rack our brains trying to figure it out. Meanwhile, none of it means anything, and it's just a bunch of nonsense.
Seriously.
And you know what? I'm fine with that too.
I'm for it.
Yeah,
there you go.
I'm fine with that.
I think it depends on the category. Like for this movie, I think it works. But like Ronin, that movie pissed me off when you didn't find out what was in the case at the end of the movie.
Oh, I
like
don't care about what's in the case. I'm
no,
there for
that
the
drove
car
me
chases
nuts.
and the shootouts.
Yeah.
No, that was excellent. But by the end, I'm like, are you fucking serious? You're not going to show me what was in there?
That's
Well,
one of the best
he does the
action
same thing
movies of the
in Mission
90s.
Impossible 3.
Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. What is the rabbit's foot?
Oh.
But for a genre like this, I think doing something like that with the ending absolutely works.
Yeah. No, I do, because I think he gives you enough. Sometimes movies are just all over the place, or sometimes the twist at the end does not make any sense to me, and I'm like, no, we're not. I'm not buying that one. I'm having a flashback. There was a film that I saw probably in the 90s. This woman was in it, and she had this stalker, and all these bad things were happening. And she had this therapist who was played by Alan Alda, of all people, who, was the kindly, level-headed therapist. Then at the very end, all of a sudden, like, Alan Alda goes crazy, and it was him all along. I'm like, no. You can't just literally do the totally stupidest thing that you could have with these characters just to say, whoa, that was a twist. Didn't see that coming. Didn't see it coming because it doesn't make sense,
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I feel like he gives you enough in this film that you can piece together something that does make logical sense, that does seem to adhere to something. You know what I mean? Like, this is obviously something that's going on in someone's head. I'm not sure whose, but this is there is two different dimensions of dream world and reality, that kind of thing. So I mean, you can extrapolate something that does, again, even if we're not going to get the perfect solution, to know exactly how this is all meant to play out, there's enough that you can walk away with and say, I get where we're headed. And again, I do like the fact that not everything is completely spelled out for you.
Mm-hmm. Any twist in a movie has to be earned. The movie has to make it make sense. It could be a shock and a surprising twist, but it needs to be something plausible and conceivable. Like The Sixth Sense is probably the most classic example of like the best twists in movies. The movie earns that twist.
Yeah.
And I think, Mulholland Drive is full of twists and turns, and every single one of them is earned.
Come on, it'll be just like in the movies. We'll pretend to be someone else.
This is all an illusion.
You want gotta know who you are, don't you?
All right, I guess it's time to score Mulholland Drive. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first just to get it out of the way. I'm going to score this a TBD, to be determined, because I don't think I can appreciate this film the way I saw it, and that's on me. And I would feel bad because, Kyle, you've never led me down a bad path with a movie before, at least nothing under a 4. So I'm going to wait to score it until I can watch it properly.
All right.
Fair enough.
At some point, when we do a show, we're going to enter with Ray's score of this film.
We should definitely.
Kyle, what do you got?
I feel like I've been really, really generous lately with my 10s. I gave a 10 to Wind River, and I think I gave a 10 to Sicario. But at the same time, I can't think of anything that I would do differently with this movie because it's just so wildly out there, and I don't have that esoteric creative mind. Like I could write a story, I couldn't write this story. So there's really nothing that I could say I would change or do differently. So that's my long way of saying I have no choice but to give this movie a 10.
Okay. Nice. Interesting. So, I will say this. I mean, it's funny. I have been a huge David Lynch fan for a long time. I have a lot of David Lynch soundtracks on my iPads or iPhones or whatever. The scores are always great. So
Yes.
yeah, I really do like a lot of these movies. And yeah, every time I like the fact that it's kind of dazzling you with imagery and letting you sort of put together what they all mean. And I kind of think that his movies work in a very sort of lyrical way where, again, you're seeing something, you're hearing something, and he's just letting you sort of put together in your own mind how it all works. What do you make of this? So it is a very it's art in the truest sense, honestly.
It really is.
So
yeah.
I hats off to him and so much of his work. I'm gonna give this one a 9. I think it's way up there. Could be one of his best. Again, I think probably it's only because I am sort of in that zone where it's like it could be one of his best. I think it is, but it's like but again, he leaves me kind of wondering. So yeah, I think a 9 is probably where I'll land with this.
That's a solid score. I can't complain with that at all.
Nice. Cool. But who asked you? Or what, am I doing it backwards? I always get this wrong. Is it for your consideration or who?
Yeah, we should do the good stuff first.
Okay, your consideration. Who wants to go first?
I'm chomping at the bit.
Go for it.
So for my your consideration, lesbian sex scene. So as I had said, I found this movie on an LGBTQ app that had streaming movies, and I didn't know why. And I had messaged you guys, and again, when I watched it, that was edited out. And you're like, "Oh, just wait for the sex scene." I'm like, "Ugh, wait a minute," and you're like, but then it dawned on me, like, "Oh, wait." So I had to do a Google search to see what you guys were talking about. I ended up on xvideo.com, and if you don't know what that is, you're lying. And I got to watch the scene.
The reviews, the opinions expressed here do not necessarily reflect those of reviews on
got to watch the scene. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes this movie infinitely better than from the way I saw it. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the softcore lesbian sex scene.
It is a memorable one, that's for sure.
It was perky.
Kyle, class it up a little bit, will you?
So I was tempted to go with the Billy Ray Cyrus cameo, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Laura Haring, who I've never seen in anything else, but she's so good in this. She plays the amnesiac role really well. She's really playing 3 or 4 different parts. and plays them all convincingly. So she plays the amnesiac Rita, who's just like this wide-eyed. Is she innocent? Is there something nefarious going on? I mean, at the very beginning of the movie, the mafia is trying to kill her. And then when she transitions into this glamorous Hollywood sex symbol, she's playing a completely different character and plays them both so well. So that's got to be where I go with my for your consideration.
Nice. I'm sort of in a similar boat as you. I was just going to go with the casting because I thought the casting really is spot on. I thought she, to your point, she is spectacular. You're right. She hasn't been in a lot of things, but she's got that look, that just works perfectly in this film. And I thought, Naomi Watts is, she's somebody who I kind of, you'd think she'd be in a lot more stuff, but she really wasn't in a whole bunch. Like she did one of the King Kong that Peter Jackson did.
Mm-hmm.
She's been in a couple things, but not a lot. But she really is perfect in this role. She's kind of exactly that. Again, walking off the plane with the pearls on, looking like she stepped out of a 50s TV show. She's perfect there, and a lot of the supporting cast as well. So I mean, I think the cast in here is really good.
Yeah, that's a great pick. Even people who are in it for just one scene are really, really good.
And there's a lot of that guys in this movie as well.
Oh yeah,
achy breaky heart.
Yep. So give me the bad stuff. Who wants to go first?
Well, I can't. I'm exempt. So maybe that's why I keep giving out 10s.
You don't want to talk bad.
The next movie, I'm just going to eviscerate whatever it is. It could be Citizen Kane. No, I can never eviscerate Citizen Kane.
I think it's unfair for me to give a Who Asked You again because of the format that I saw it. I don't think it would do the film justice. But I will say that it reminded me of that Always Sunny meme, the conspiracy one with like Charlie Day and the map and all the string. Like there's just so much going on, and it's difficult to follow what was going where. But I'm also dealing with commercial breaks and stuff like that too. So I don't know how much of it was the movie, and on top of that, those breaks in between while I'm trying to concentrate on following a storyline and piecing everything together in my head. So I don't think it's fair for me to give one, but I could totally see how this could get very confusing if you're not into those kind of movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't really know where to go with this either, except I guess probably what I've sort of been alluding to the whole time is that there's I can't tell if he's being masterful in the things he holds back or if he's just sort of relying on vagary to not have to paint himself into a corner and say, this is what the film is about. And, I don't know, I don't even know if that's fair or not, but there are moments where I'm kind of saying to myself, well, maybe I want to know what the point of the film was. I want something to tell me that I was understanding it correctly. There's a Coen Brothers movie that kind of is also popping into my head too. You guys ever see Barton Fink?
Yep.
No.
I had a feeling that's where you were going.
Yeah. I mean, that's another great movie. And it also is one that I kind of feel like it leads you through something where you're not even sure what the point is. And by the time you get to the end, you're kind of going, all right, so what was it that the film is trying to tell me? And I'm not sure, but I at some point though, but I felt that the narrative was a little stronger or a little maybe just clearer is the word I should be using. Where I kind of feel like I have some sense of what the message of the film is, sort of. And I kind of feel like this one, like there's a tiny little bit in here where I'm saying, is this a little J.J. Abramy where he's just, it's the mystery box, but we're never ever going to know what's in it kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's probably the only thing that really holds me back from raving more about the film and possibly even giving it a 10, frankly. But again, I also, just speaking out both sides of my mouth. I do like the fact that it doesn't spell everything out for me and gives me something to think about afterwards. So again. So I don't know if that's even a proper criticism or not, but there you go.
Well, it's a difficult movie to approach because you don't really know what you're getting yourself into, and the movie never really tells you what you're getting yourself into, and it's a really hard movie to describe other than just watch it. It's creepy.
Right.
That's really, there's no other way I could describe this film.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, and that was probably something I was touching on at some point. But right, if you try to explain this movie to somebody, you really would have nothing to say about it. Really, like, you wouldn't know. I wouldn't know how to explain it.
I get where you're coming from. Yeah, it's David Lynch. It's creepy. You'll like it. It's Halloween.
Bingo.
Shut up and watch it at midnight.
Can't say better than that.
Where's this going?
Mulholland Drive. It's been a very strange day.
Getting stranger.
Gentlemen, I think that was Mulholland Drive. So thank you, boys, for that one. That was a good one. That was a good pick.
A lot of fun. Yeah, I've been looking forward to discussing this movie with you guys because I don't know what the hell it's about, and so might as well talk to people who also don't know what the hell it's about.
Yeah, very, very true. I think we've got one more of our our scary movies that we're gonna do. It's gonna be after Halloween, but I think we'll get it in.
Hereditary.
Curious the opinions on that one, so we'll get to that. All right, boys. I will see you next time. Thank you.
Take care. Have a good night. Happy Halloween.
Thanks for listening to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe, Kyle, and Ray. Join us here every Thursday for a new episode. You can also find our episodes on our YouTube channel. Check the link in the description. All clips in this podcast are for commentary and critique and are considered fair use. No copyright infringement is intended.
Fucking thing sucks!